I have had a really interesting life, an opportunity to uh, go out and explore what makes an amazing life. It's an amazing field of research to be able to combine an analysis of brains and machine learning to study people working and education and try and build a story out of that. It's interesting having Jan being interviewed just before me and hearing him talk about artificial intelligence. I've had the chance in my career to build the first ever AI to treat diabetes for my own son, as it turned out. When a friend of mine asked if there was anything I could do to help with bipolar disorder, I got to build the first AI that could predict manic episodes in people suffering from bipolar or manic depression. And over the course of my career as an academic scientist, as an entrepreneur, I've gotten to publish papers on research around the codes used in our brain, on new machine learning algorithms, and even some of my funnest papers looking at how students learn. And in addition to my inventions in diabetes and bipolar disorder, I've had the chance actually to invent a system to reunite orphan refugees with their extended family members. And in my hope, take science and do something enriching for the world. And along the way, I founded 6 companies looking at things like education and hiring and health. I've had a pretty amazing life, if I may be so bold. In fact, recently that's even included the opportunity to write books, and not just on science, though I do have my work on how to robot-proof your kids and the tax on being different. But I've even had the chance to write books in science fiction and on fantasy, to write pieces of fiction, even a screenplay. So you might imagine, with a career as truly bizarre and diverse as that, I get a lot of people walking up to me asking, what do I do to help my kids? What's that one thing that they should know to prepare them for the future? Dr. Ming, you build AI. You hire people inside companies. You even research the brain and education. Surely you know what to do. In fact, it's not just parents that come up. Once the US Department of Education invited me to fly to Washington, D.C., this was many years ago. I have not visited the White House in, let's say 4 years. But way back then, I had the chance to go visit and meet with the Department of Education, and they posed this very provocative question. How do we robot-proof our kids? As Yan was concerned about, we don't want to just give away all of these decisions to artificial intelligences or to some tiny elite that leads the way. How do we include everyone, every child, no matter where in the world they're born or within the world? Are they born into privilege or into poverty? That shouldn't decide the value of a life. And so my work has been in the specific space, but unfortunately, so much of this conversation has been distilled down into something trivial. Oh, Dr. Ming, what is the one single skill that every kid in the entire world ought to know, not just right now, but to prepare them for 20 years into the future? And, it evokes in me a sense of a metaphor. For example, imagine someone came to you and said, what is the one single stock I should invest in the stock market? One company I will put literally all of my money, not only all of my money, we're going to take all of the money in Chile, all of the money in the United States. We're going to invest it in that one single company. Oh my goodness, it better not go bust. That, of course, sounds ridiculous. If you were investing for some distant future, you would be investing for the unknown. You would be investing with uncertainty as part of your strategy. For example, you might diversify, invest in many, many companies, or invest in a company that invests and modifies its decisions over time. So there's all sorts of strategies you would take, but you'd never pick one single thing and put all of your money into it. And yet, when we talk about our own children, all people want to know is, should we teach everyone how to program? Should everyone go to university and study STEM skills? Should everyone know how to do AI? What, Dr. Ming, is the skill that is the future of work? Well, there is no such skill. In fact, the only thing I truly know about the future of work is that I don't know what it will be. Nobody does. All we can do is guess, but with the virtual certainty that we will be wrong. And you may think then, what could we possibly do? What is left if everything is uncertain and there's no one magic skill that will fix all of our problems, that will prepare our children? Then what do we do? Well, it turns out, amongst the various companies I founded, I was the chief scientist of a company called Guild. We were one of the first ever using AI for hiring. In fact, we didn't just use it for hiring, we used it for what's called sourcing. We want to go out and find all of the best possible employees in the world, all of the people that companies like Google and Facebook and Citibank and so many others who were customers of ours, all those people that they missed, that they couldn't find. We built an enormous database of 122 million people. I know in the modern world that doesn't sound so large, not when we're looking at billions of people on Facebook, but at the time, this is a very large percentage of the entire professional global class. And what we were trying to do was look at all of the evidence that they produced in their life, that they were amazing, that they could do something exceptional. Essentially, we wanted to predict the quality of work they would do if they were given the chance. If you want to predict, by the way, whether someone will get a job, that's very easy. Look at their name, the university they attended, and their last job. And you know why? Because that's all recruiters look at. Now, once you come in for an interview, there might be many, many more assessments. But the first thing they look at, whether it's on a piece of paper or on the computer, are those three things: your name, your school, and your last job. So right there, you know the three things that are the most predictive of whether you'll get a good job. Have the right name. It helps if it's male. It helps in the United States if it's a European name. Go to the right university. Go to Stanford or Harvard. That's a very good decision for the future. So we should maybe send all of our children to Stanford. I don't know that they have enough spots. And if you've worked at another company, then we can select you. But we actually found, once I knew something deeper about all of those 122 million people in our database, none of those three things were predictive anymore. Even the university you attended didn't tell us nearly as much as the other deeper qualities. Were you resilient? Did you have good communication skills? Did you have rich literacy and numerosity when you were a young child? These were the things that were actually predictive. And by using AI and machine learning, we were able to mine through those millions and millions of people and see what really led from the factors of a person's life to the potential to do amazing work in their future. And what's wonderful about all those things I just listed, and I have not listed them all, there's so many more, is one, they are concrete and measurable. Maybe sometimes it feels like we can't measure something like resilience or perspective taking. But it turns out a lot of us in science put in a great deal of effort to figure out how to understand these qualities. They're very human, but there are insights we can gain from science. The other thing is they are highly predictive, not just of the quality of work people do, they are highly predictive of long-term life outcomes. How much money you make, how happy you are, how many friends you have. This is one of my favorite things, how fast you can walk when you're 65. What wouldn't you like? What person wouldn't love to have a life in which they were healthier and they were wealthier and they were happier? This is what I think we all hope for ourselves and our children, and we actually know the factors that lead to it, at least those individual factors. And here's the most amazing part of all of these findings. All of those factors are changeable. So many of us assume that you either have it or you don't, that there's some magical quality about a person that brings them success. And maybe it's in your genes, or maybe it's in your stars. But it turns out every one of those qualities I listed, and we now study 50 different factors associated with positive life outcomes, they are all intervenable. They can all be changed. Some of them early in life, but many of them throughout your entire lifetime. And when I try and understand that question, Dr. Ming, how do we robot-proof our kids? That's where the answer lies. What we need to understand is, how do we build people for the unknown? If the only thing we know about 20 years into the future is that we don't know what it is, we still know something. We know that we need to pass ourselves and our children into that future, possessed of the ability to explore the unknown. This is what predicts a positive life outcome. This is how we will robot-proof our kids against the future of artificial intelligence and a continuing stress on unequal economic outcomes by investing in the qualities that will prepare us. And this may seem strange to draw a connection between a conference that's about creativity and some of the excitement of technology and these deep personal qualities about individuals, about ourselves and our kids. But in fact, the connections are very direct, because I would argue that creativity is explicitly our ability to explore the unknown. Whether you're an artist or a scientist, an engineer, a business person, a teacher, whatever role you have found for yourself, whatever purpose you are fulfilling, your ability to do it in a way no one has ever done before, your ability to do it in a future that is uncertain, where everything needs to change. And not only is the future wildly different than it is today, it is getting more different more quickly. We need to build an entire creative economy. We need a society of adaptive, creative problem explorers. This is what we discovered in trying to find who would be the best employees. And what's fascinating is, along the way, I also had another company looking at children, exploring education, and we found the exact same thing. Those young children that ended up growing up to have the most exceptional lives weren't that way simply because they were born to a wealthy family or they had the right genetics, though, yes, there clearly are other factors. But what about the things that we can directly control? It turns out all of the same things we discovered about the best employees were true of these young children. Learning to be resilient, having a strong sense of purpose, having a large working memory span, being able to explore lateral ideas or to strategically monitor yourself, what's known as metacognition. Collectively, we took all of these factors that we had studied in 122 million working professionals and in hundreds of thousands of young learners. And we called it meta-learning, learning how to learn. If we want to robot-proof not just our kids, but our entire society, if we are concerned that we're giving over too much power to artificial intelligence or to elites, then what we need is a society full of troublemakers. We need a society full of people that have the courage to say what they truly believe, the insight to make those beliefs uniquely theirs, and the capabilities to build something out of those insights. This is the future that I've worked so hard in my research to try and bring into the future. And in fact, I've had the chance nowadays to run an organization called Socos Labs. So at Socos, we do all of this sort of work. People bring us problems, and it can be any kind of problem, as long as it's about people. Please, I don't care about your blockchain company. I'm not interested in how to optimize your supply chain. Perfectly valid problems, maybe not blockchain, but I want to make better people. I use artificial intelligence, machine learning, not because I love math, although I do, and not because I want AIs to make all of our decisions, because they can't. In fact, only we can solve problems. No matter how sophisticated an AI we build today, perhaps someday in the future, but no matter what we build today, it cannot solve our problems for us. Only we can. And in 20 years, it will be our children's turn. And if we do not prepare them to explore the unknown, to learn how to solve their own problems, the most amazing technologies in the world will not solve them for them. So at Socos Labs, people bring us problems. Dr. Ming, my daughter has 500 seizures a day. Please save her life. My son can't enter REM sleep. Please save his life. Our company doesn't know how to promote women. We'll keep the company a secret. Can you figure out and help us how to price our own bad decisions so that we can fix them? Or even our country doesn't know what to do with our education policy. Or maybe the world doesn't know what to do with artificial intelligence to make it ethical and solve good problems. So people bring us these kinds of challenges. And if I think my team can make a unique difference, I'll pay for everything, and we do it all for free, and we give it away. Because that's the world I want my children to grow up in. And that's the world I want them to contribute in. And when I build the team to do this sort of work, I don't ask them if they know how to program. I don't ask them if they know about machine learning or artificial intelligence or brains. The math can be a little hard to come by later in life, but all of those things I can teach you. If you want to understand the power of creativity, then understand the single question I want to answer when I hire new employees or bring a student into my lab. Will we have had an idea together that I would never have had on my own? I can teach you all the rest. In fact, none of the rest of it is robot-proof. No matter how sophisticated a skill or knowledge you learn, how many years of university it took you, if it is a routine skill, it is not robot-proof. Some jerk like me is building a startup right now filled with AIs to do that job, whether it's read x-rays or analyze legal arguments or even write code itself, even the code for AIs. The only thing that you are truly adding into this world, and it is the thing we so desperately need, is your ability to solve truly novel problems. That is creativity. And let me add one last idea. If you don't believe that this is possible, perhaps you don't think that you can do this, or you don't know that people can change inside your company, or you're worried that perhaps your child, I know I'm a parent, sometimes you wonder, can they really live up to all these expectations? Well, one thing, maybe don't make the expectations so hard. But let me share one last thing. I started off by listing all these inventions and all these companies I've had the chance to found. It was grotesque. I was so self-congratulatory. Understand that that hasn't been all of my life. I've had a wonderful second half to my life. And I was born to live it. When I was little, I was supposed to win a Nobel Prize. By the time I was second grade, it was clear to me that I was supposed to be the smartest, most accomplished person in the whole world. And it was also clear to me that I never would be. And the harder I tried to be that person, the worse everything got. I flunked out of secondary school, very nearly. And then when I got to university, I finally did. And I ended up homeless, living in my car, on the streets, wondering why I should even be alive. I had never accomplished anything, and I'd only ever let people down. Over the last 20 years, I've been a part of a revolution of using tools like machine learning to truly positively change people's lives. And I am immensely proud of that. The reason I do that work is because I know intimately that every life can change. When in 1995, I was considering ending my life, I decided instead that I would live a life that made other people's lives better. And I went back to university and I completed my entire undergraduate degree in a single year and got perfect grades in every class. And I went on to study brains and artificial intelligence at some of the most elite universities in the world. But it wasn't those universities that transformed me. It wasn't the knowledge of how to build an AI. It was instead that I had something that was bigger than me, something that would take more than a lifetime to complete, that I was prepared to change myself to become a person that could make a difference in other people's lives. This is a technology conference. We're here to talk about the future, but there is no future. There's no value to AI or quantum computing or any of the rest of it without human potential and creativity. All of it is directly driven by our own capacity. That is what the future of work is about. That is what we must invest in. If you truly want to robot-proof your kids, give them a purpose. Give them something bigger than themselves. Give them the chance to plant a tree, just as you will do today, a tree that will grow over 20 years to prepare your children for the future. They will go on to do the same. That's what's amazing about this entire story, a story of hundreds of millions of data points of machine learning and artificial intelligence, that it's us. It is humanity that makes the difference. And it is from that humanity that we derive our creativity. We will always have a role in that future. And I'm immensely proud that I've had a chance to play a role in it, and immensely flattered that you all had the terrible taste to invite me into your homes for a conversation about AI and the future of work. But now I want to ask you, wait for the other speakers to finish, but don't wait for tomorrow. Go out tonight and plant a tree. Thank you very much.